Am I synced?
You're calibrated.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
My question for
I
you,
am
Caesar.
fully calibrated.
Did the persons who owned that dog come to our church on Sunday? Did they
That's
come
in
talk
his
to you?
email inbox.
Yeah.
Sometimes it happens. You're like, hey, when you use that illustration, it was me you were talking about. I'm
Yeah.
like, oh,
That was
great,
my
sorry.
white dog.
Yeah,
have to
that
know.
white dog. He does look like a polar bear. He's a beast. Massive. But I don't have to travel through there
But
anymore.
so here's my question. My second question then. When you're calling it the Beast, have you ever seen the movie The Sandlot?
Yes.
Yes.
So is that why you're calling it the Beast?
Maybe so. Maybe
Okay,
that's
like
where
subconsciously.
had to
Yeah. That's a
Dig.
great movie.
Yeah.
deep way back.
You're like
way
a
back.
big dog that's scary. It means it's the Beast.
Yeah.
Jumps over the fence.
Yeah.
Unleash the
Yeah.
beast. Unleash the kraken.
Here, let's do this.
Change the channel.
Hey, welcome to the In Between Podcast.
That's super casual. I like
I
that.
You like that one?
Yeah.
We said it was going to be casual.
Yeah. Hola, ¿cómo están? Muy bien.
Let's
can
do
go
a
to
whole
another
Spanish. You should do that.
You think so? We will lose our audience since probably
mean,
98% of
can-
our audience.
Could you do the whole podcast in Spanish?
Oh,
Of
well,
course
sure.
you could.
I could, but who am I talking to? Because clearly not you.
Please talk about
Yeah.
when we were on the mission trip
Love.
and you're up there speaking Spanish, and I'm like, Lord, let me just be able to understand
Yes.
one word that Caesar's saying. And you're speaking, you're preaching in Spanish, and I'm just sitting there praying and thinking. I'm like, Lord, just give me something. And he goes, Oprah Winfrey. And I was like, what? I know that.
And then I said Walmart.
Then you said Walmart. I'm like, thank you, Lord.
I can speak
And then I told you afterwards, you're like, no, no,
I just said that.
not how it works.
That's funny.
Oh, man. Good times.
Good times.
Talk to us about this week
Yeah.
and our mouths and how we can glorify God through that.
Yeah. It's, a verse of scripture that I've quoted many times in my, I guess, stupidity of trying to say something or communicate something. And the Lord will just remind me of, do not let any unwholesome. And so, again, that's just a reminder, even just that word, it in the Greek, it translates to unhelpful or rotten. Like, don't let any rotten stuff come out of your mouth. I think we're so quick to say things that will hurt feelings, crush somebody's dreams in a minute. We're very loose with our mouths, and or as the Bible says, our tongues. Right?
Yeah.
It's it's the smallest, in a sense, part of the body that can do so much damage. And so it was just a great reminder for me. I got to live it this week. We had a tough week at home. I think I mentioned that over the last couple of days, and and how I was going to handle some of my parenting, and it was so important for me to calibrate and make sure that I was balanced in what I was getting ready to say to him, because I'm you're so quick to just go to the preachy way of going about reprimanding or disciplining your kids, and so I was reminded of even that acronym that I gave. If you want to be a communication ace, right, you got to ask for advice, you've got to compliment often, and then you've got to exhort sparingly. So that was kind of towards the end of the
good.
message. In fact, I had somebody text me and was like, hey man, what were those words
Yeah.
again? So hopefully it's stuck with many of
Acronyms
us.
are great to learn from.
Yeah, for
I love
sure.
That
Yeah.
helps.
There's another one that I think it was a while back. I did a series during the whole COVID thing, and guard your mouth, and we all had those
Yep.
those mouth pieces there, those face coverings, the mouth coverings, and it was and even this past Sunday I talked about think before you speak, and that was the acronym I introduced, and it wasn't original with me, but it was that word think, right? So is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? And is it kind?
Love
I
that.
think I spelled that correctly.
Yeah.
So, it is a matter of like really, and I think you mentioned off air, you were like, well, then that may be a really long conversation, but it doesn't have to be. It can be
Right.
just a long process, because most of those conversations that are like, that you're about to walk into, that are maybe a little bit sensitive, I think those are the moments that we really have to think.
Yeah.
Like, Lord, help me to really navigate this so carefully so that I don't hurt, but instead I can build, right?
Yeah.
I don't destroy. I can actually be edifying. So anyways, I just love the passage. Do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up. That's what the whole, parameters of the message were about.
It's great.
I tend to forget about that second part because I always am like, especially working with students, I'm like, don't let any unwholesome talk. That's like, don't use profanity and don't be gross and that kind of stuff.
Right.
But I forget the second part of it, which is like, but only is what it's useful for building others up. So, yeah, you may not be saying bad words, but are you constantly tearing other people down? That's not helpful either, right? So,
Yeah,
I liked the.
And that's what I mentioned. Like, you can tell somebody that they're lazy in a way that it's going to hurt them, right? Or you can actually build them up in the process. Right. And, am I about to say something from myself, kind of my own desires of what I need in this conversation? Or am I going to do what the Bible actually says, but only what is helpful for building others, not yourself, but others up? Again, so the purpose of communication is to be others oriented rather than self-serving, me oriented, which is, big part of the way that we engage in conversation. What do I need? What do I need to get off my chest? What do I need to say? And here's how you've hurt me. And here's how, so again, it's just a beautiful reminder in that passage of the importance of helping building others up.
You said the goal of speech is to benefit those who listen, not just to be right. How important is that in communication?
It's huge, man. Yeah. It's huge because I think we can be right? And it's, great, defend your case, and that's really good, but sometimes we do it and we hurt people in the process of being right. Yeah. Like, we are so dogmatic about certain things, and it becomes this huge argument because it's your view versus my view, right? Like, just take the gospel, for example.
Right.
I can tell you about Jesus, and let's just say that you're not a believer, but if I approach you from a very arrogant way, my tone is very overbearing, and maybe I'm just kind of bulldozing, and I don't ever let you speak. Yeah. And sometimes that's, that it's I don't know if you ever watched it's a comedian, and it's a Me Monster, to where he is saying, like, all I'm doing while you're talking is I'm watching your lips, so that as soon as they stop, I can jump in. Like, you're not even listening to the other person, right? And this is obviously the whole part of the body and your ears, right? That's why you got two and just one mouth. Listen more, speak less. But yeah, sometimes in conversation and communication, we are so focused on us rather than actually hearing, listening, and the tone and the way that you go about expressing yourself. And that's why it's so important, especially in those sensitive conversations. Let's just say you want to share the gospel with someone. If you just walk in and bulldoze that conversation, and I think you miss the opportunity. Right. Especially in sharing the gospel, there's a relationship that has to be built there, and there's all kinds of different ways to, minister to people and share your faith with others. There are a lot of different tools, but I think being dogmatic is not one that I would recommend.
Right. Yeah. Not going up to somebody and say, hey, where you're going to spend eternity is hell, right? And not starting there, but even though that might be the truth, we need to say, hey. That's
a great example.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yeah.
Right? But if I go about it that way, I am burning that bridge really, really quickly.
I think you see it as like you lose influence, right? Like, some people, the way that you speak to them.
Yeah.
If I'm being a jerk, even though I'm right, I'm now lost my influence over them. So they're never going to listen to anything that I have to say, even if I'm right. So it's the way that you come at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And then again, your tone is key.
Yeah.
Right. And the way that you are engaging
people. What's a moment where somebody kind of shaped the trajectory of your life positively or negatively? What was one moment in your life, Caesar?
Oh, goodness.
If you could pinpoint. I know that's a big question.
3 words.
Yeah.
Yeah. There were some really great moments in my life where people really that I will never forget to this point. I remember sitting in a driveway with my youth pastor. He had just taken me home, and he looked at me and he said, "Hey, you're my Timothy."
Yeah.
Like that moment for
That's
me
cool.
was really, really neat.
Yeah.
Because it was like, I am getting ready to pour into you. Paul Timothy relationship, right? So like I get to be around him, get to learn from him. He gave me, it almost gave me like a pep in my step.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man,
Yeah.
I've been chosen for this task, and he held me accountable for that, and so he expected more things from me, and I remember it being a really, really cool pivotal moment in my life when it honestly just kind of changed the trajectory, just because of those words that he said.
That's cool.
Negatively, man, there's been just you'll never make it. You're not strong enough or fast enough or
Right.
smart enough. In fact, I remember when I came to the States, I was a teenager, and I didn't speak any English whatsoever. And that freshman year of high school was really difficult. It was really hard. And I remember there were some people in the circles that I was traveling with, essentially, that I had heard they said about me, he'll never make it.
Wow.
He comes from a broken home. He doesn't speak English. He is having a hard time. He's almost failing his classes. And I just remember that like weighing so heavy, because I thought if anybody is going to have their best interest in mind, it should be that person. And it wasn't.
Right.
And it just, man, it pierced my heart, but it also boosted me
Yeah, that's what I
forward.
was
It
gonna ask.
almost served as a launching pad. Not arrogant, maybe a little bit, but like I'm going to prove them wrong.
Right.
I want to prove them wrong, and so those were some moments that I remember them being very influential in my life,
great.
very key moments.
Were there any questions that we had? So we want you to join in on the conversation. Send your questions in. Ask Caesar anything. That should be a segment.
Dun dun dun.
Ask
Ask
Caesar
Caesar anything.
anything.
There weren't this week, but like we
Yeah.
said last week, if you have any just random questions, like
Yeah.
you just said, ask Caesar anything. We're going to compile those and put them together for a separate one-off
Love it.
episode of the In Between podcast to answer some of those questions. So
I think one of the big things that I was really trying to get to this past week, because of the passage that we were looking at, it was so much about others, being focused on that I would just add, like, you're asking this question: how do I honor God with my body? How do I honor God with my mouth? And to do that is to honor the people around you.
Mm-hmm.
1 Peter 3:7 talks. It's a weird passage. It's like your prayers will be not your prayers will be hindered
Right.
if you don't honor your wife, right? And I'm going, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
like so. That's how we honor God with our mouths. Is we honor the people. We going back to that that acronym. You ask for their advice. Like when you ask for someone's advice, you are saying, preach to me. I value your input. I want to hear from you. Your voice matters. I don't think there's anybody that I have ever met that says, I just get too many compliments. I mean, really, how much do you take, how much pride do you have in walking up to somebody and say, man, listen, you are doing a great job.
Yeah.
Why don't we do that more often? Why is it? Are we afraid of just an emotion that may come behind that, or just even the words, I love you, right? I spoke to that generation of 50s, 60s, 70s, and sometimes even younger than that. I think, a lot of what we say and what we don't say has been passed down to us. And so we don't express ourselves very well because we're afraid of what may happen. And so the words "I love you" or the words "I'm proud of you," or "great job," like they are far few in between. And I think we should be complimenting each other, especially when you see great things happening. And then of course, be careful with just the preachy part of
Right.
it. Preaching at people. I think you lose a little bit of traction there.
Yeah.
I loved your final challenge of like, are you a burner or a builder?
Mm.
And just thinking about, I think with girls especially, we have an issue with gossip
Yeah.
and like talking about people. Like I may not ever say it to Luke's face, but I would tell it to Caesar, right? Of something bad about Luke, and that doesn't cross my mind sometimes of like, I'm being a burner because I'm not burning you down to your face, but I'm burning you down to Caesar talking about you.
Right.
Not that this has ever happened.
Tell me, Cassidy, what
Right.
is it?
But I think as a girl, we have to, or a female, or just, a human Christian, you have to remember that this is not just this doesn't encompass just talking to someone's face. Like, am I building someone up or burning them down at any point, talking to anybody? Am I physically all the time, do I burn down people or do I build up people?
Yeah. You always have that opportunity, right, to be a burner or to be a builder. In this conversation, am I about to build somebody up, or am I about to tear them down? I think that's where most of us fall in one of those two categories, and I know one thing. I love being around builders. Builders of people. Like, it's encouraging. It's contagious. When you're around those kinds of people that are just very uplifting. I will tell you this. I have a couple of people on my phone that I can call anytime if I'm feeling down about something, and they're just going to encourage me.
Dwight Martin is one of them.
The Dwight Martin. Yeah, he was with the bearded man.
The bearded wonder.
one.
You've got some great staff here that are just all about constantly complimenting one another, encouraging each other, building each other, and also not afraid of having those tough conversations as well. But they do it in such a way that is edifying rather than like, oh my gosh, I've just been beaten up. We're beat up everywhere we go, right? I mean, the world will beat us down quickly. They'll tell you what you are not, how you're missing the mark. I think it's time for us as Christ followers to set the example and to really encourage people to pursue their God-given abilities to go after it, man. Like, I was at a really neat show last night, and so you may be watching this later and you're like, you stayed up until that time. So whenever you're watching it, it was sometime this past week. I was at a show, and it was really cool to see just the amount of encouragement that was coming out of this guy's mouth. They're just constantly lifting each other up, pushing each other in the right way, So it was really neat to watch Christians do what, they say that we are about, which is edifying one another, building each other up rather than tearing each other down.
I love Psalm 19:14. And while at Lee, and if you went to Lee, then you know it, it's let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. O Lord, you're my strength and redeemer. I think that's a perfect segue into what's happening here is going to come out here. And so we have to check our heart first. It's really, really good. I know you know that, Logan, because you went to Lee. But that's something that we would always quote as kind of like the benediction as we left. Hey, we're going out into the world now. Let's check our heart first so that we can be pleasing and have the right words to say. So that's good. What's next week? What's coming up?
Oh, man, I'm still praying through it because I've got two more that I want to give, right? It's the hands and the feet. So this week, and might be going to the hands.
Get to these hands.
But
Very cool.
we'll see how it lands. I'm looking forward to it, and just again how Lord's used this series in my own life. I'm telling you, like I preach it on Sunday, but I've been living it all week,
Right.
and trying to really meditate on these words. And when you do that, it is fresh in your mind. So that's our prayer, right? That in this podcast, in between, you are reminded of the truths that you heard on Sunday, and they don't just become something you put on the side. Another page in your notebook of notes, but that really come alive, and you actually start living a more balanced life in the way that God has created us to be,
That's great.
And you'll get to preach it 3 times this Sunday.
That's right.
3 services.
Going back to 3 services.
Tell us those times again, Cassidy.
They are 8:30, which is normal.
Yep.
That has not changed. And then 9:45 and 11.
We'll be done by noon.
Yes.
You can go eat Mexican at 12 o'clock.
right at lunchtime.
Hopefully 12:10 maybe.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Linger and
Yeah, we'd love
mingle.
to have you for any of those three services. Pretty much the same thing, all three. So come by if you are hard headed like I am. Maybe you need all three. So you can
Come
you
to
can
all
be,
three.
You can be at all three services or just pick one.
I'm thinking the middle service will be the biggest one. I don't know. I could be wrong. I think so.
At
But if you're
9:45.
in the middle service and you're like, this would be a great time to join a group, that's also
you
when most
go.
of our groups meet. So
Yeah.
if you want to try something new, you could go to one of the other two services and try out a group during the middle
Awesome.
service. So
Join in on the conversation. If you have any questions, ask Pastor Caesar. You can put it down in the comments, or you can just info at
direct
Dallas
message,
Bay, or
the website.
There you go.
We're very reachable.
make sure you like, follow, and subscribe any way that you're listening and watching this. We'll see you next time.